My name is Wenmin from University Malaysia Sahba and Wenmin University. My topic today is exploring the intergenerational language transmission pattern of Northern Pinghua in China. I think we can say that language endangerment is a global issue. This is also happening in China, with many minority languages and the Chinese dialects are at risk of endangerment, and they are dying in an intergenerational switch way, leaving no time for rescue and protection. Northern Pinghua is one of these languages. It is a regional dialect mainly used in northern rural Guangxi and is with low level of mutual intelligibility. Compared to official language, it is less commonly used. Now, as this picture you can see that this language is mainly used in the northern part of Guangxi province, and this is Guilin, and this is Hezhou. And Guangxi province is in the southern part of China. Previous studies show that Northern Pinghua had been active until the 2000s, but recently, according to the Ministry of Education of the People's Republic of China and the UNESCO the World Atlas of Language, this language is in a state of endangerment or unsafe. This means that the intergenerational transmission of Northern Pinghua is weakening, with younger generations preferring Mandarin or Huilihua instead of using Northern Pinghua. At the same time, the absence of empirical data on Northern Pinghua use within families further complicates effort to understand and adjust this decline. So this study aims to explore the pattern of intergenerational transmission of Northern Pinghua within families in China, trying to answer the question that how is Northern Pinghua transmitted across generations in indigenous languages? This study applies both-skill theory of language management, especially focused on the language practices, which means the habitual pattern of selecting among the varieties that make up its linguistic repertoire. The second theoretical foundation is the intergenerational language transmission. According to Fisherman, family domain is especially important for language maintainers because languages are passing down from generation to generation. And also according to UNESCO's scale of language endangerment, we can say that when assess the degrees of the language endangerment, we have considered the language use of 3 generations, the children, the grandparents, and the parents. So we will consider these issues in our study. The study site of the study is Dacheng Village in Guilin, right here. Okay, Dacheng Village is the rural area in Guilin. And Guilin city is located in the northern part of Guangxi Autonomous Region. In this area, in Guilin, we have 3 languages commonly used. Mandarin, the official language, Huilihua, original dialect mainly used in urban area, but also parts of the rural area, and then Northern Pinghua, original dialect, mainly used in the rural area. This study is a quantitative study with participants, the villagers from Northern Pinghua speaking community. The sampling method is the purposive and snowball sampling. The instrument to collect the data is a self-reported structured questionnaire with closed-ended questions. The data was collected during April the 8th to 23rd in 2024 with the printed papers sent out to the villagers. The data was analyzed by using the SPSS. To analyze the data, descriptive analysis was used to show the demographic characteristics, and then to analyze the language use differences. First, the study used the Shapiro-Wilk test because this is a small size sample. So normality of the variables should first be examined. The p-value showed that there is a statistically significant deviation from normality. So the inferential statistical method, that is the Wilkerson-signed rank test, was used in this study to examine whether changes in Northern Pinghua language use occurred within a generation when the speaking audience varied in the family. So the results show that the participants cover all the age ranks, and the Wilkerson-signed ranks test show the intergenerational Northern Pinghua use variation across generations. With the 4 pairs analyzed, 2 pairs show significant differences. That is the use of Northern Pinghua within the first generation and the use of Northern Pinghua between the first generation and the third generation. The second pair is the language use within the second generation and the language use of Northern Pinghua between the conversation between the second generation and the third generation. The distribution of the language is always used across 3 generations also show the same result. That is, within the third generation, most people exclusively use Northern Pinghua, the number 28. And for the second generation, I mean the parents, 29 people reported that they've always used Northern Pinghua. And then for the conversation between the first generation and the second generation, we see that most people, almost all, okay, that is 30 people reported that they always use Northern Pinghua. But when it comes to the third generation, the young generation, within this young generation, 6 people reported that they always use Northern Pinghua, and 5 people reported that they always use Guiliu Hua, and then 11 people reported that they always use Mandarin. For the conversation between the first generation and the third generation, 10 people reported that they always use Northern Pinghua, but still we have 7 people reported that they use Mandarin, even though the grandparents, they always use Northern Pinghua between them, with each other. And then when the conversation between parents and children, 7 people reported that they always use Northern Pinghua, while 11 people reported that they always use Mandarin. So this study aims to investigate the pattern of the intergenerational transmission of Northern Pinghua, and the results show that Northern Pinghua was widely used in the first generation and the third generation, but there is a decrease of use in the third generation, and there is a decrease of use of Northern Pinghua in the young generation, and there is an increase of use of Mandarin in the third generation. This means that Northern Pinghua was the primary choice of older generations, and it is losing users in the younger generation, which means that it's not likely to be transmitted to children. As part of first generation and second generation, they did not communicate with the third generation in Northern Pinghua. The results also match the previous studies that Northern Pinghua is now in a state of endangerment or unsafe. As we can see that according to the UNESCO's 6th scale of language endangerment, for the intergenerational language transmission, when most children speak the language, but it may be restricted to certain domains, then we can say this language is vulnerable. And when children no longer learn the language as mother tongue in the home, we can say this language is at the level of definitely endangered. Now, this study showed that Northern Pinghua is still commonly used in the old generations, but it's losing users in the third generation, and parts of the old generation stopped using the language with the third generation. It might be somewhere between the vulnerable level and the definitely endangered level. So we can say that Northern Pinghua is really at a state of endangered or unsafe. This study still have some limitations as the sample size is smaller with only 34 participants, and there's an absence of qualitative data analysis, which limits the in-depth understanding of the Northern Pinghua use. But still, this language is significant for it enhances our understanding in intergenerational transmission of Northern Pinghua in multilingual Chinese families. And the integration of both key theory of language management and fishermen's intergenerational language transmission theory enriches the understanding of indigenous language used within multilingual rural context in China. As for future studies, a larger sample size, mixed methods are recommended, and more factors should be examined, such as the urbanization, migration, language contact, or attitudes, explorer time, etc., to fully understand this issue, that is the decline of language use of Northern Pinghua. Preserving Northern Pinghua is crucial for safeguarding linguistic and cultural heritage. Then for villagers, they should recognize the challenges of language endangerment and actively use the language at home and in more domains, such as birds, friends, or markets. Government support and the Northern Pinghua education programs are still very important and play a key role in maintaining the vitality of Northern Pinghua. Thank you for your attention.